Welcome back, traveler. The tale of Tanya continues tonight, so take a deep breath and step into the next chapter. And remember, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. The light of the morning sun pierced through the windows of the small church on the outskirts of the city and reflected off the large white cross on the altar. A little girl sat modestly on a bench, her hands folded. Her eyes were closed, and her hair reflected the light like a sacred relic. "You are here again, Tanya-chan. You are a good girl. The Lord blesses those who believe in him." Tanya looked up. Standing opposite her was a young man in white robes, too young, about 17 or 18. He smiled, but there was no cheerfulness about him. His eyes shone with a look Tanya knew well. "Reverend Freed, glad to see you." Tanya smiled. "You frequently visit this temple. I am new to the city, but it's not the first time I've seen you here. Your faith is commendable. How do you feel about conducting a joint service to the Lord in a private setting?" His tone was soft, but certainly not benign. Rising from the bench, Tanya headed for the exit. Passing him, she involuntarily winced, catching the familiar, indelible scent of stale blood. She felt the priest's sticky, watchful gaze on the back of her head until she left the temple. Tanya was met by a tall, well-built young man in a black suit. He was like a huge wardrobe, nearly 2 meters tall. He would have looked imposing had his impression not been ruined by his silly grin and childlike, naive eyes. "Ane-san, are you finished?" He drew out the pauses, which spoiled the picture further. "Because we don't have much time." Yes, let's go." The young man opened the door of a new black BMW parked nearby. "Ane-san, why have we been coming here all week?" "Yoshi, didn't you feel anything at all?" Tanya frowned. Yoshi's childishly confused face reflected in the rearview mirror. "Perhaps this is our next target. Although everything looks decent on the outside, there is definitely something deeper inside the church. I've already left bait. Let's see what happens." Tanya stared intently at him. "But this won't do, Yoshi. You need to pay more attention to details. Didn't that young priest seem strange to you?" "Strange?" The boy tilted his head in thought. "Gait precise. Gaze observant. Weaknesses none. He would be a decent opponent. But strange? I didn't notice. Forgive me, Ane-san." "Yoshi, you're always the same." Tanya tiredly put her hand to her face. "Everything you just listed is strange, especially concerning a young priest who smells of blood a kilometer away. As I thought, you are amazing, Ane-san. Yoshi will continue to follow you." Yes, naturally. Where else would you go?" Tanya replied flatly. She then grabbed her laptop and hit the power button. Almost 12 years had passed since Tanya found herself in this new old world. It was clearly not her previous world, nor her original world, but it was incredibly similar, a parallel universe perhaps. Tanya was satisfied that she had landed in modern Japan. At least I can give Big Brother Y a couple of karma points for this. Although, to get out of the negative range on my personal favor points, he'll have to work for an eternity, especially considering the trouble I'm in thanks to this Big Brother and his quest. Divine assignment. Trial of Faith X for little sister. Rank SSS+. Conditions. Little sister must find her X, being X, in this world and settle her relationship once and for all. Note:
Being X is very, very grateful for little sister's last gift and is eager to return the kindness. So little sister should prepare in advance and give a worthy response. Big brother Y trusts that little sister will succeed and won't give him any more reasons for jealousy. Success. The love of Big Brother Y. Failure. Rejection by Big Brother Y. All buffs, bonuses, and status will be nullified. A vein throbbed on Tanya's forehead as she reread the quest conditions. If she had her way, she'd gladly fail this so-called divine quest in the first seconds of her new life. Paradoxically, she'd gladly switch success and failure. But she was faced with insurmountable circumstances. Being X, he would come for her one way or another. It was a matter of time. And if so, there was only one solution. Strike first. Settle the score with him finally. Tanya had been preparing for confrontation with Being X literally from the cradle. She gathered information, restored her old military and combat skills, and skipped grades to finish school and university before coming of age. To acquire connections and resources, money, information, people, weapons, technology, she became an idol. This world, too, was not simple. Tanya retained her magical abilities and discovered that other supernatural forces existed here. Magic, sacred gears, and other fantastical forces. She was currently looking for areas of Being X's activity. "Stop right there!" Tanya shouted. The sharp smell of rot hit her nose. Yoshi slammed on the brakes. They were on the city's outskirts, passing some warehouses. "Yoshi, don't you smell anything?" Tanya wrinkled her nose. That, he thought. Like rolling in dirt, Ani-san. Not sure. Well, at least something. You're making progress. All right, let's go look. They approached the nearest warehouse. The sense of foulness intensified. Through a slightly warped door, a smell familiar from the battlefield hit her. Tanya peered into the darkened room. The morning sunbeams revealed, "Whoa! Since when did a maniac show up in the city? What kind of butcher worked here?" Human body parts, as if gnawed on, were scattered everywhere. "Who's there?" A nasty hissing voice echoed from the depths. Food? Food! Something resembling an oversized mutant beetle flew out of the dark corner. Tanya instantly reacted. Assessment. Status. Name. Aurelius. Race. Demon/human. Level. 19. Status. Renegade demon. Rook. Evolution index. E. Strength. 14/28. Agility. 8. Stamina. 10/20. Energy. 6. Vulnerability, light, -100%. Effects, madness, rook, strength and stamina ×2. The system, Big Brother Y's boast, was indeed useful. It was like becoming a game character. The key feature was assessment, the ability to evaluate information about any object. The oversized beetle is quite strong, especially the strength and stamina stats. And what's this? Race? Demon? Seriously? More and more interesting. Yoshi, Tanya gave the order. The boy immediately shielded her, completely blocking her view. A true wardrobe. Boom! The beetle crashed into him at full speed. The impact echoed like a heavy ram, but it barely affected the boy. He only staggered slightly. As always, astonishing strength. Yoshi, use minimal force to get rid of this misunderstanding. But Ane-san, it's quite strong. It'll be good training for you. Since you have trouble with perception, you'll practice controlling your strength.
Food dares to resist. Pathetic worms, the creature wailed.
Yes, Ane-san. The boy strained. Veins bulged on his forehead. Several seams on his suit split. With incredible effort, he tossed the monster aside.
Boom! The creature crashed into the wall, kicking up dust. Yoshi's wrists flashed with a pale light, and black-plated gauntlets with silver trim materialized on his arms up to the elbow. The creature's slime shot towards them. Yoshi waved his hand, and the goo parted, missing them entirely. The floor beneath hissed. Acid? What? Sacred gear? I'll kill you! The creature rushed Yoshi again. They clashed again, and this time the monster flew back into the wall. Its lower limbs were now twisted and broken like overcooked pasta. Well, how was that, Ane-san? He grinned foolishly. How many times have I told you? Finish off the enemy immediately once they are weakened. Don't stall. The creature let out a final screech as its skull popped under Yoshi's grip like an overripe melon. The satisfied boy turned to Tanya, covered in green and gray goo. Yoshi, I was going to interrogate her. Someone finally took the bait near the church. Why did you do that? Eh? He tilted his head. But she wanted to harm Ane-san. Yoshi wanted to help. Tanya closed her eyes. Did you really think that misunderstanding could harm me? But Ane-san, you yourself said not to underestimate the enemy and to finish them off as soon as possible. Yoshi did just that. Face palm. That's true, but... Tanya sighed heavily. Never mind. Come on. Clean up the corpses of these mutants and let's get out of here. We're already behind schedule. We have a shoot today. Well. Who do we have here? A playful female voice sounded from above. You're quite something, human. Where did you come from, I wonder? Tanya looked up. A girl was hovering in the air above the building. She had a pleasant appearance and a brazen smile, but what attracted attention was something else. Black feathers floated in the air, and behind her, black wings adorned by the sun's rays. And who is this feathered chicken? Assessment. Status. Name. Kalawarna. Race. Fallen angel. Level. 16. Status. Renegade Grigori. Evolution Index. E. Characteristics. Strength. 5. Agility. 10. Stamina. 5. Energy. 12. Achievement. Exile 5. Being who lost his blessing for sins committed. Original racial abilities are weakened. Tanya's eyebrows rose. Angel? Seriously? Hey you, I'm talking to you, she shouted again. Or should I help clean your ears? Suddenly, something flashed in her hand. A moment later, a spear materialized out of particles of light. Flash. The spear shot instantly toward Yoshi, and again, flash. A second later, his vision returned and Yoshi was completely unharmed. Only his outstretched gauntlet glowed with a faint halo of light, and he was intently watching the feathered girl. Not bad. So you've already awakened your sacred gear. You know, you kept lurking near the church, which made me curious about who you are. What organization are you from? You'll tell me everything now. She snapped her fingers, and several more spears formed in the air. All were aimed at Yoshi. Tanya could only smirk to herself. The girl was weaker than the mutant beetle, but she had enough gall for 10 people, though her light spears were an interesting and powerful technique.
Why are you silent? You know, you might not be the main target, but it's always useful to eliminate a potential sacred gear user. Will you talk now, or do you want to die? She waved her hand. Fine. You can answer when you're lying with half your limbs. The spears shot toward him. They were aimed at Yoshi's limbs and his groin. This feathered girl was clearly a sadist. But alas, energy attacks. Flash. Yoshi extended his hands, targeting the nearest pair. He caught them, then twisted his hands as if turning a wheel, catching the remaining spears. And each one seemed to be absorbed into the gauntlets. A moment later, only a faint glow in his hands remained of the spears. Useless against Yoshi. What? It can't be. Who are you? The girl panicked and began to look around wildly. Then her gaze fell on Tanya. She smirked and rushed toward her. She grabbed Tanya's shoulder and pressed the light spear to her neck. Stay put, or this little girl will say goodbye to her head. Yoshi stopped. The feathered girl was nervous. Surely his calmness seemed strange to her. But seeing him comply, she continued. Okay, good. It seems you're not an idiot. You know what's what. Now you'll deactivate your gear and take your hand off me. But Tanya thought otherwise. Huh? She scowled, looking at Tanya like an annoying fly that had let out a piercing whine. Doesn't the little lady understand her situation? Maybe I should cut off that sharp tongue first. What is this? I'll repeat for the slow ones. Take your hand off me. But for the recipient, it was too late. The mentioned hand had already been removed, right onto the floor. Not by the owner's will, but as a result of complete separation from the body. Tanya's palm was covered in golden glow, shaped like a blade, and drops of red liquid dripped from her fingers. What is this? Who are you? No. Do you even know who you've laid a hand on? Ah! We'll find that out right now. Tanya swung her hand again, and the second hand, holding the light spear, was also separated from the body. I'm also terribly curious who you are. Now for the interrogation. Stop. I understand. I surrender. Chkwa! Splush. Suddenly, the pseudo-angel's head exploded into pieces. The decapitated piece of flesh thudded to the ground. Only black feathers remained dancing in the air. Tanya looked at Yoshi behind the headless bird. Pieces of gray matter dripped from his gauntlets. Yoshi, I was going to interrogate her. Someone finally took the bait in the form of you at the church. Why did you do that? Eh? He tilted his head in confusion. But she wanted to harm Ani-san. Yoshi wanted to help. Ah, I see. Did you really think that misunderstanding could harm me? Eh? But Ani-san, you said not to underestimate the enemy and to finish them off as soon as the opportunity arises. Yoshi did just that. Facepalm. That's true, of course, but... I sighed. Never mind. Come on, clean up the corpses of these mutants and let's get out of here. We're already behind schedule. We have a shoot today. Tanya raised her eyebrows. She surveyed the dismembered carcasses of the demon Rook and the fallen angel, then shifted her gaze to Yoshi, who stood there, beaming with a foolish smile and covered in green and gray slime. Yoshi, I was going to interrogate her. Someone finally took the bait in the form of you at the church. Why did you do that? Eh? He tilted his head in confusion. But she wanted to harm Ani-san. Yoshi wanted to help. Tanya closed her eyes. Did you really think that misunderstanding could harm me? She sighed deeply. That's true, of course, but... Never mind. Come on, clean up the corpses of these mutants and let's get out of here. We're already behind schedule. We have a shoot today. Yoshi, like a puppy who had been praised, immediately set to work. He quickly gathered the remains of the beetle and the fallen angel, using his gauntlets. Under his grip, the bodies disappeared as if absorbed by shadows. This was another useful feature of his sacred gear, the ability to clean up and dispose of things. Damn it. This is the problem with working with junior staff. He's strong, loyal, and asks no unnecessary questions, but his executional efficiency completely kills initiative. He can't distinguish the value of information from eliminating a threat. And that fallen angel certainly had ties to the church, or worse, to being X. A missed opportunity. Tanya glanced at the watch on her wrist. Time was pressing. Only half an hour remained until the shoot for her new singles cover. Yoshi, quickly wash off this stuff. Otherwise, they won't even let us onto the set. And stop smiling as if you just had lunch. You killed a person, albeit a feathered one. Control your emotions. Yes, Ani-san. Yoshi quickly rushed to the nearest fire hydrant. Tanya remained standing in the middle of the dungeon, using assessment on the vacated space. Status. Location. Temporary F-rank dungeon. Conditions. Elimination of all creatures. Result. Success. Reward. Plus 100 experience. Detected. Traces of light energy, sacred gear energy, and demonic magic. So, angels, fallen angels, and demons. Tanya nodded, summarizing. As well as sacred gears. Obviously, I've stumbled into a world where these factions are not only real, but actively fighting. I'm right in the middle of a religious war, damn it. And this is in Japan? Big Brother Yuck, you idiot. Your quest is absolutely idiotic. But at least I know where to dig next. She quickly typed a search into her laptop. Grigori. Church. Fallen Angels. Grigori. Fallen Angel Organization. Leader, Azazel. Known for research into sacred gears. Tanya narrowed her eyes at the information. Researching sacred gears, huh? No wonder the feathered chick was so interested in Yoshi. She must have been monitoring him near the church, which is likely the border between their territories. My plan worked, but it cost me a valuable interrogation. Now I'll have to find another captured angel. Ane-san, I'm ready. Yoshi returned, slightly wet but clean. Let's go. We can't be late. The more time we waste, the less I can work on truly important things.
2 hours later, Tanya was on the set, in the studio for the photo shoot of her new single cover. She was dressed in a cute school dress that accentuated her fragility, smiling the most innocent and angelic smile that her fans adored. This world, she thought, forcing out a fake "yeah," forces me to do the thing I hate the most, displaying weakness and naivety. Her job as an idol was incredibly profitable, securing the necessary funds and contacts. But every time she made another cute gesture or sang a children's song, her military soul died a little more. But this is the price for the resources needed to fight being X. When the shoot ended, Tanya, still in makeup, headed to Ku Academy. She had to show up to maintain her image as a diligent and hard-working schoolgirl and catch the mandatory etiquette and art history class she hadn't managed to skip. She entered the school grounds. At the entrance, a crowd of fangirls immediately surrounded her. "Tanya-sama, you're radiating again today." Tanya, with the same fake but impeccable smile, waved them off. "Thank you, girls, but I'm just an ordinary schoolgirl. Let's not draw attention." Her gaze swept the grounds and landed on a familiar figure. Issei. He stood, as if in a trance, by the gates staring into the distance.
Tanya immediately felt a rush of annoyance. Not because of his perpetually perverse tendencies, which no longer concerned her, but because he was her older brother who was still utterly useless and did not fit into her meticulously crafted plan. She walked up to him. "Well, big brother, it seems you are still in shock after yesterday. I can only guess how delighted you were to see me at the Kendo Club," she whispered, her voice both sweet as honey and icy cold. "I hope you understood the lesson, or will I have to repeat it in a more graphic form?" Issei shuddered, snapped out of his daze. He turned and looked at his sister as if he had seen a ghost. But before he could say anything, the black-haired cutie from the bridge approached him. "Issei-kun, I'm happy to see you. Have you told your sister yet that we're dating?" The girl blushed shyly and timidly took Issei's hand. Tanya's face, which a second ago was perfectly angelic, froze. She looked first at the girl, then at Issei, then back at the girl. What? That idiot! He found a girlfriend? Impossible. The thought raced through her mind. Tanya couldn't believe it. Her pervert brother, who couldn't find a girlfriend, even in an ex-girls' school, suddenly acquired one right in the middle of her personal war. This was outrageous. It was illogical. It didn't fit into her worldview. She quickly activated assessment on the girl. Status: name: Yuma Amano. Race: fallen angel. Level: 17. Status: Grisha emissary. Scout. Evolution index: E. Characteristics: weaker than Calla Warner, but with higher agility and energy. Effects: concealment, active. The thief. The smile Tanya had been forcing all day vanished. The only expression left on her face was pure, cold annoyance. "Hello," Tanya said coldly. "I am Tanya, Issei's sister." "Yuma-san, is it?" She emphasized the name. "Very pleased to meet you. Allow me to warn you. My brother is a pervert. He is not worthy of you. You should be careful." I know," she replied, her voice trembling slightly. "But I still love Issei-kun." Tanya tilted her head, and her eyes flashed gold. "A fallen angel, on a scouting mission, has taken my idiot brother under her wing. This idiot brother suddenly has a romantic interest who is also a creature from a hostile faction? This is the most illogical and foolish turn of events in her entire 2 lives." "All right," Tanya said calmly, her voice level as a sheet of water. "Brother, we need to talk. Right now. Yuma-san, I'm sure you will understand." Tanya grabbed Issei by the collar and dragged him away, leaving Yuma standing in confusion. She literally pulled him toward her black BMW where Yoshi was waiting. Ane-san, where are we?" "Shut your mouth, brother. I don't have time for your teenage romances." "Hey, Tanya, what the hell? I have a date." "You are about to have a meeting with reality, you idiot." They reached the car where Yoshi stood with an impassive expression. "Yoshi, we need to check something urgently. Drop us at the Kasumi Inn on the outskirts." Yes, Anna-san." Tanya literally shoved Issei into the back seat and sat next to him. She slammed the door and glared at her brother. "Listen to me carefully, you idiot. You are going to tell me everything. Everything. Who is she? How do you know her? And how in God's name did you manage to find a girlfriend when your friends are still dreaming of their first touch? And most importantly," Tanya leaned in, her eyes filled with golden light. Do you even realize that this Yuma is a fallen angel, and she's most likely going to kill you? Tanya, what are you talking about? Fallen angel? Silence. I'm not finished. Now talk, or I will personally conduct a repeated course of psychological combat training with elements of surgical intervention.